What's up, YouTube? What's up, Facebook? I appreciate y'all so much for being here. I'm just trying to adjust the screen a little bit, apologize, but I want to show you guys this clip of Jen Psaki, the press secretary for Joe Biden, pretty much admitting that healthy lifestyle is not a part of their idea of how to run public health. I mean, I don't want to put words in her own mouth, but I'm going to play this clip in like 30 seconds or so. Listen to what she says, because other countries are obviously talking about healthy lifestyle as a part of public health. But apparently, in America, the big pharma capital of the world, where in 2016, I read an article that said that around 5% of the world's capita is America, taking around 80% of the opioids. Apparently, we just don't think about healthy lifestyle as a part of our regimen. Weird. Let's play the clip. But, to the 7 people that want to hear me play the harmonica later, if you stick around, I'm going to talk about Neil Young. And we don't talk about Neil Young without playing harmonica. So, harmonica solo coming up soon. Hopefully, I don't blow it. And the reason is because I find it very fascinating. A lot of these viral videos have gone around saying that Neil Young sold his half of the rights to some of his music, which is true. I have the stats on that. He sold it to a company called Hypnosis, who is doing $1 billion collaboration with Blackstone, an investment firm of some sort. And Blackstone recently, in August 2020, announced the appointment of Jeffrey B. Kindler, former chairman and CEO of Pfizer, as their senior advisor. Isn't that just interesting? Should we hit him with the harmonica solo now or later? Let's not do it, because a lot of people tune out. Oh, I don't want to hear him play the harmonica. Oh, this new show sucks. I want to go watch Hannity or Rachel Maddow. Whatever. To each their own. Here's Jen Psaki. Thank you. I don't know who this is. Liberal, conservative, don't care. Someone asked her a question of, is healthy lifestyle a part of our public health idea of how to defeat COVID? And Jen Psaki's answer is very telling and very obvious. Wake up, folks. Let's take a listen. Here it is.
On COVID, we've seen an effort from a few other countries to include a push for living a healthier lifestyle as part of its pandemic response. There's been studies indicating efforts like weight loss can help prevent some of the more serious effects of COVID-19. Why isn't the president included a push for healthier lifestyles in his COVID messaging, in addition to pushing Americans to get vaccinated?
Well, first, we rely on the advice and guidance of our public health officials on how to best protect yourself from hospitalization and death from COVID. And we know that the most effective steps anyone can take are to get vaccinated, get boosted, wear a mask. And those are the steps that we're certainly focusing on. If they decide those are steps that are warranted and have a huge impact on outcomes, and they want to share those, we'd certainly echo those. But we really refer to our public health officials and experts.
Are we paying attention here, folks? So do I have to run it back, or should we just let it slide? They're like, so a lot of countries obviously are including, healthy lifestyle into their fight for public health. Is that in America? And she basically pretty much says no. I'm proud of Jen Psaki. I'm proud of her for not lying. I thought she was going to lie and be like, oh, we're promoting great health. We're promoting healthy lifestyle. And I'm like, no, you're not. Everybody has eyes and ears. We can hear what you're saying. We see what you're doing. But she actually told the truth. She was like, well, if the CDC, if our public health experts decide to tell us that it matters, then maybe we'll consider it soon. But vaccination. It's like, hello, is anybody awake in the world, in the country? I'm convinced at this stage, I don't think that most people in America are on her side. I think most people in America are lazy, okay? I think most people in America are cowards. They know what they're doing is wrong. They know that this is ridiculous, but they just keep going along because it's easy, okay? It's not going to be easy forever because it's just ridiculous. How many people die a year of obesity? The World Health Organization says an estimated 2.8 million people die each year in the world. In America, an estimated 300,000 deaths per year die of obesity. Those numbers can change. Yet Jen Psaki and the federal government, whether it be the Biden administration, Trump administration, they think it's okay to lock people out of gyms and kick them out of gyms. However, they haven't really thought about it. Yeah, well, maybe we'll consider it if they think. Listen to this answer. I'm so over even reporting on this stuff, so I'm going to move on. But I want to run that back. This is one of the leaders of our country admitting that our public health regimen doesn't include actual health, like wellness. I mean, do I even need to?
On COVID, We've seen an effort from a few other countries to include a push for living a healthier lifestyle as part of its pandemic response. There's been studies indicating efforts like weight loss can help prevent some of the more serious
weight loss help. There's other countries doing this type of stuff. Are you thinking about doing it? Because like obesity, is not the best thing, with COVID. Maybe we should start, stop. Oh, let's shut the world down and feed everybody high fructose KFC corn commercial. It's like they got all these Burger King. Yeah, they didn't shut down. Oh no, we're having a health pandemic, folks. We got to shut down McDonald's. It's like, oh, we're having a health pandemic, so let's shut your gym down. Let's lock everybody in the house and feed them pharmacy pills and fast food. Yeah, that'll really make us healthy. This country's so stupid. Wake up, folks. I'm not trying to yell at you. I'm sorry. It's Saturday. Just, pretend like it's like a rooster, cock-a-doodle-doo. I'm just trying to wake people up. I'm not trying to be mean. Wake the hell up, folks. This is like such a gross country now. I love America. I love this country, what we stand for. We're disgusting now. We're the big pharma fast food capital of the world who has a bunch of leaders telling us that it's okay to shut our gyms down, but they haven't even thought of public wellness. I mean, my goodness. At least she told the truth, though, and didn't act like they care about it, because they clearly don't.
Effects of COVID-19. Why isn't the president included a push for healthier lifestyles in his COVID messaging, in addition to pushing Americans to get vaccinated?
Well, first, we rely on the advice and guidance of our public health officials on how to best protect yourself from hospitalization and death from COVID. And we know that
keep in mind, the question is, other countries are worried about wellness and wealth, and they're trying to keep obesity down. What are you doing? I'm waiting for my sold out health officials to tell me what to think.
Most effective steps anyone can take are to get vaccinated, get boosted, wear a mask. And those are the
500 pounds wearing a mask. I'm sure that'll really help you in your fight against COVID-19. Oh yeah, listen to Jen Psaki. Just be morbidly obese and just throw a mask on and just keep getting your booster shots. 4 shots in Israel, number 1 in the world in cases per capita, even though they have 500,000, fourth shots. Yeah, really great advice there. But you can't question it, because Facebook, Google, and YouTube, they're all in on it. So God forbid you tell people the truth. They freak out.
Steps that we're certainly focusing on. If they decide those are steps that are warranted and have a huge impact on outcomes, and they want to share those, we'd certainly echo those. But we really refer to our.
Oh yeah, if they tell us that obesity matters and taking care of yourself matters and stop doing all the degenerate things we do in America. Yeah, if the experts tell me to say that, then I'll say it. But until then, I don't know anything about it. I've never even thought about that. It's like, my God.
Health officials and experts.
I just want to break this computer. Seriously, I want to break this computer. I might do it. I might even do it on live stream. Not even for the clout. I don't need the clout. I have enough. I just, screw Apple. They're like, oh, excuse me, can you wear an N95 mask coming to the store? I should just snap this computer right in half. But luckily, I don't let my emotions get the better of me. But I was damn close. Screw you, Apple. This is not even straight. My goodness, what a sham of a production this whole thing is. Anyway. Jokes aside, I gotta calm down. The reason I was lifting weights while she was talking is because I don't listen to her. I'm not like, oh yeah, I mean, we haven't even thought of health and wellness and obesity. I mean, that's not even in our thoughts, but maybe one day the CDC will stop being so corrupt and they'll tell us about that. How do you shut down somebody's gym? Shut down somebody's access to like physical resources, but that's not even a part of your equation. The collateral damage of what these psychopaths have done probably far exceeds what they helped you with. And I don't care if these idiot loser fact checkers on the fact check, it's not true. Fact check, shut the hell up. Fact check, go to the gym. Fact check, stop eating McDonald's and blogging for Huffington Post. Fact check, nobody cares about your op-eds in the Rolling Stone. Fact check, you hate yourself so much your eyes are closed in your own profile picture. Fact check, you probably poop your pants and you're only in your 20s. I'm just kidding. But anyway, another story that's interesting. So everybody knows Neil Young once was standing up to corruption of Monsanto, but now apparently is like Mr. Big Pharma, and everybody has to get their shots all the time, or else, old man's going to cry and take his music down on Spotify. So people started making these meme videos and being like, yo, Neil Young sold some of the rights of his music, and it's just an interesting connection. I don't know if this influenced his decision to be a psychopath, but I'm just going to go through a step 1, 2, 3 that you can do yourself. So if you Google Neil Young sold his music, you'll find it says Neil Young sells 50% of his publishing rights to his entire song catalog to a UK investment fund. The deal gives Hypnosis the rights to the worldwide copyright and income interest from 1,180 songs composed by Young, and has been reported to have costed around $150 million. So Neil Young, I just misread it. So he sold his music to Hypnosis, some sort of UK investment fund. If you go to blackstone.com, you can see a press release. Blackstone says Blackstone and Hypnosis Song Management launch $1 billion partnership to invest in songs, recorded music, IP, and royalties on October 12th, my birthday, 2021. So Blackstone and Hypnosis Song Management launched a $1 billion partnership. If you Google Blackstone, the Blackstone Group is an American alternative investment company based in New York City. And if you Google Blackstone Pfizer, you could see on August 2020, Blackstone announces appointment of Jeffrey B. Kindler, former chairman and CEO of Pfizer, as senior advisor. Just fascinating. So this is just a question, did Neil Young selling his rights to a company that's working with an investment firm that hired a former CEO of Pfizer, does that have anything to do with his 180 from being Mr. Oh, I'm against Monsanto corruption to my tongue's out and I would slurp the mRNA juice off of the boots of Albert Bourla, Neil Young, I'm staying inside until COVID's gone. Did that influence his decision, or is he just a psychotic old man who watches too much television? I don't know, but to keep myself from getting any more upset, I'm going to do my rendition of Neil Young's Heart of Gold. Unlike Neil Young, I have 100% freedom to do whatever I want on this because I didn't sell 50% of my rights to Fox News, CNN, or Hypnosis. So this is for you, old man. I almost forgot it. Shut up, old man. But that song is lit. I'm not gonna lie. Listen, if I made that song, I might sell half my music rights for 150 million too. Why not? A few harmonica solos, one song about an old man, rest of a catalog no one really listens to, 150 million, sell it to an investment firm, who works with another investment firm who just hired the CEO of Pfizer. Why not, right, Neil Young? I get it. Make that cash, old man. But, at the end of the day, your soul matters too. You'll figure it out. You're on the wrong side of history, old man. I'm sorry. Anyway, that's the story of today. I gotta calm down. It just really bothers me. Maybe because I drank too much coffee, but it just bothers me watching Jen Psaki. Like I'm glad that person asked her, like, is like losing weight and like health, is it a part of your plan? And she's just like, no. Well, we're talking about vaccines and masks. And, if they, basically it was like, if the public health officials, tell us to do that, then we'll do that. So you're pretty much admitting that the public health officials aren't even thinking about one of the most simplistic forms of health. And I touched on this in my other video, my last 5-minute video, but I want to kind of elaborate on why obviously agencies can be corrupt. Just look at the history of the milk industry, the sugar industry. Big oil. Now you have what I would call big climate change or big, green energy. They have their own agenda, just like big oil used to have. But in general, it's like you look at the history of government. You look at, first of all, governments outside of America have killed hundreds of millions of people throughout history. There is no conspiracy theory about it. It's just like, look at Mao Zedong, Stalin, go back even hundreds of years. Governments were never perfect. So this idea that questioning your authorities is a bad thing, questioning your authorities is literally what makes our country free. Questioning our authorities is what created and founded America. This idea is this stupid, brainwashed corporate government, nonsensical, brainwashy idea that, oh my God, Joe Rogan's questioning the government. It's like, yeah, dummy. Because if Joe Rogan and smart people don't question the government, we're going to end up like governments of the past, where they end up hurting people, becoming tyrannical, acting like kings and queens, and you already do it. Look at me at the Met Gala. I could show my face because I'm fully vaccinated. What about me? Can I show my face? I'm fully vaccinated. No, go get me a margarita. I got to pose for the cameras for AP. It's like, like wake up, folks. You're being like replaced with serfdom. But anyway, you know, governments are not perfect. Big pharma's not perfect. Big agriculture is not perfect. These people know that, but they act like, questioning them is this horrible thing that you shouldn't be able to do. It's just disgusting. And I was listening to, and I hate to be mean. I'm gonna try to be as nice as possible because I really don't like being mean. At the same time, I need people to leave me the hell alone, and they just don't seem to want to do that in this world. But I listened to Joe Rogan's podcast because I honestly, outside of everybody's opinions on him, left, right, some people think he's this, think he's that. I think you got to give credit where it's due. I think Joe Rogan has the best podcast in the world right now. He has the most interesting guests. Joe Rogan is a great listener, great question asker. Like he really has the tools to succeed. And this is why he succeeded. You could really tell. I listened to the Jordan Peterson one, right? I like Jordan Peterson. I'm glad Jordan Peterson's healthy. I'm glad he's got the attitude he used to have again. And when I was listening to Jordan Peterson, although I like Jordan Peterson and there's a lot of knowledge to be learned from him, he's annoying. And I hate to be rude because I like Jordan Peterson. I think he's a good guy. But I'm like, the reason that Jordan Peterson kind of annoyed me in that podcast is the same reason left-wing academics annoy me on the left wing is, listen, I like to read. I like to research. I like to study. I watch documentaries. I read books. I'm all about reading. You should read. You should learn. You should listen. But Socrates said, all I know is that I know nothing, or something along those lines. It's not to say you're stupid, but you have to understand what you know, what you don't know. If you read a book like How to Lie with Statistics, one of the best books I've ever read, How to Lie with Statistics really breaks down a lot of these academic studies and little, sample groups, and shows every which way from a mathematic and scientific perspective that they can and are manipulated in some form. I'm not saying every study's bad, but you have to understand as an academic, well, I'm reading this study, it's a 42 people, it's a 4,000 people, or it's 3,000 people. And you need to look for the biases. How old was the study? Was it men? Was it women? What was, you have to be analytical. Science is not just sit back and believe everything you read. Science is making sure to have a critical mind because not every study is 100% accurate. In fact, most aren't. So what's annoying about Jordan Peterson is despite the fact he's just filled with knowledge and filled with wealth, I find him to be very arrogant because he doesn't listen at all. Joe Rogan's a smart dude. He never listens to Joe. He interrupts him constantly. And all he does is spew off these academic talking points and just thinks he knows it all very arrogantly. And it's very similar to people on the left wing. And this is because they have such a huge blind spot for common sense. They think they know everything because they read a study or they went to school. And I'm not trying to be rude to Jordan, but it's like, the guy taught clinical psychology for 30 years and he's teaching all these kids, but he had a massive blind spot for big pharma. Me, with no education in high school, although I wasn't the brightest bulb in the world, I knew about big pharma corruption by the time I was 17. I just looked at the real world. I didn't have to read a million studies. I saw how many people were dying of opioids. I looked at the number of people who used to take pills versus taking pills now. I looked at the rates of obesity. I just saw it with my own eyes, people in my town who were dying of overdoses. And I was like, wow, big pharma, although they have some good products, I believe that at a young age, they're overprescribing. And a lot of these things that they were giving to kids were unnecessary. Those are my beliefs. Jordan Peterson's like 50, 60 years old. He couldn't figure that out until he almost killed himself in a 2-year pill binge. And I'm not knocking that because everybody has problems. I have flaws. He has flaws. That's not the point I'm trying to bring. But when I listen to someone like a Peterson talk or one of these left-wing, epidemiologists talk, they're so sure of themselves constantly, where it's like Joe Rogan tries to counter Jordan Peterson after Jordan Peterson talks for 30 minutes, and Jordan Peterson won't even let Rogan get a word out. He just overlaps him with, I know, I'm so sure, I'm so sure, I'm so sure. You're not so sure. That's why you're constantly making mistakes. That's why Jordan Peterson, after getting fooled by Big Pharma into a 2-year binge that almost killed his life, he comes back and then he gets 2 shots of the mRNA injection. And then he cries about Big Pharma a year later and says, oh my God, I thought I was going to take this and get back to normal. You got fooled again, man. They fooled you again. It's because he thinks he's so smart all the time. And I'm not saying he's not. He is a genius level type of smart person, but these academics, whether they be right-leaning or left-leaning, they lack the basic principles of common sense, humility, have way too much pride. And you could hear it when they talk. They're always yelling. They're always like talking over the people that they're having interviews with, even if they're really smart. And I think someone like a Peterson, he does very well against liberals because their ideology is wrong. He does well against Kathy Newman because she's a moron. he does well against, left-wing people in the media because he's way smarter and way more honest than them. But when it comes to, having a conversation with someone like Rogan, I'm just like, dude, let Joe talk once in a while. And like when Joe tries to counter what you're saying, you just talk over him. Well, I read this study. Well, I read this study. Well, I read this study. They're always reading studies. Read the book, Jordan, How to Lie with Statistics. Yes, studies are great. But at the same time, if you're following studies, CNN just said, well, fish oil is good for you. A new study said, our ancestors have known this for hundreds of years. You know what I'm saying? We're becoming more primitive than we are evolved based on all of this pseudo intellectual sort of like, ideals from the left wing and the right wing. Everybody thinks they know it all. Everybody wants to deep dive, and nobody has basic common sense. Mental health, physical health, spiritual health. This is part of being healthy. On the left wing, they're trying to act like vaccines and masks are the only thing, and admitting that they don't even care about other ways of being healthy. You could go back to Mayan cultures, Aztec cultures. Heck, go back 2,000 years into the biblical age. I guarantee you that people that were alive at that day knew a lot more about basic health, what to eat, what not to eat, how to work out, how to stay fit. Obesity is a modern problem that is way bigger and way more prevalent now because we're over consuming information. We're over consuming food. We're gluttons, not just of food, but of information of everything. And, everybody's spiraling. And I'm not saying that I'm perfect. Like I get too much information. Sometimes I get too much food, but there's these new studies and these new academics that come out with something that everybody knew 100 years ago. Like I don't, it's just, you see these massive flaws. Well, I went to Harvard for 17 years and I studied epidemiology, but you can't even see through what's going on right now from March 2020 to March. The one guy, I'm not trying to make fun of him, but he's this Rutgers epidemiologist. He looks like a roly-poly. He looks like one of those little roly-polies. And I'm not trying to be mean, but it's like, how does this guy understand science and health? And he's got all these ideas about mandates and what we should do and how and when everyone should get an injection. And it looks like he hasn't done a push-up in 50 years. It's like, you're not good at health. It's like being a basketball analyst who never played basketball. Sure, you could talk about it, but have you ever played it and done it? Can you really compete, or are you just like a sideline spectac? So it's like some of these people, they got all these ideas, all these opinions about how to, the study, we did 17 studies with 17,000 people in 4 different countries, and we concluded that it's okay to shut down your gym. Because it's like, why would you shut down a gym when you don't go to the gym? You know what I'm saying? The gym bros have been more accurate than the epidemiologists in some case, because gym bros actually do real engineering. I think Shiva had a great little rant on this where he said, a lot of the engineers are way more honest than the scientists because engineering is real and a lot of scientific is just a hypothesis. For example, you could have a theory, but at the end of the day, if your plane doesn't fly, it doesn't fly. If your car doesn't work, it doesn't work. Like that's real science. If it does, engineering, I have to create this and we will test it. And if it fails, it fails. If it works, it works. A lot of these other people, all they do is just sit and hyper, guess about things. And then they're like, oh, I was wrong. It's like, you're missing basic stuff. The World Health Organization said in early 2020 that the death rate of COVID-19 was a 3.4 death rate. This is something that nobody thinks anymore, not the top experts. I, on my YouTube channel and Facebook channel, was able to debunk that, disagree with that narrative, and explain why I was right, not the World Health Organization. Why? Do I think I'm so great? Do I think I'm just so much smarter than ever at the World Health Organization? No, I think I have basic common sense and an ability to do third grade math. And instead of over analyzing it like a pseudo intellectual idiot who spends too much time, smelling their own stank and thinking they don't stink, I did third grade math and I said, you're saying it's a 3.4 death rate, but common sense tells me that you're not handing out tests to everybody. The only people that can get a test are the elites, the athletes, or somebody who's really sick. So if that's the case and you can only get your hands on a test if you're elite athlete or really sick, the death rate is going to be artificially higher. And once you give out millions of tests, you're going to have more people that have it, symptomatic, asymptomatic, whatever you want to say, and that death rate's going to go down. I was right. How was I more right than thousands of scientists in America and the World Health Organization? How did I know that? Because I'm not an idiot. And a lot of these people are idiots. I don't care how many degrees you have, right? A lot of these academic institutions, they're not rewarding intelligence and they're not rewarding critical thinking. They're rewarding obedience. This was one reason I was so bad at school, besides the fact that I can't think like that in a way of like, I don't like to sit down for 10 hours. And they used to tell me, oh, what did they say to my mom? They said, your son needs Adderall. Your son needs Ritalin. Thank God my mom had common sense. She said, my son is not mentally deficient. He has no problems. He just needs to pay the attention. My mom was right. And I'm not saying I was right. I was a bad kid, but one of the reasons I didn't like to pay attention is I'm creative. Now I work harder than most people because I like what I do. I didn't like school. I'm not meant to do 15 different things. I'm supposed to do what I want to do. I'm a very independent person, and independent people don't do well in school. A lot of wealthy people, as some of them go to school, some of them drop out and make a business. So that's more of my kind of style. And I got demonized in school. Why? Although I'm not going to make excuses, I could have been a better kid. I think school rewards obedience, not intelligence and not critical thinking and not innovation. If you listen to your teacher, do what they tell you to do, hand it in on time and show up on time, you're going to get an A or a B. If you're, thinking outside the box and you are questioning the narrative and questioning authorities, you don't do so well in school. So, school rewards obedience. And it's this like indoctrination training camp. Do what you're told and you get a good grade. Do what you're told and you get a good grade. Do what you're told and you get a good grade. Do what you're told and you get a good grade. And then people do that for 15 years and everybody wonders why nobody wants to stand up for themselves because they were trained from the time they were in kindergarten until the time they left college to do what authorities tell you. If I asked a question, this is one time I learned in school that something was up. It was 7th grade, 6th grade. I had this idiot teacher who hated me because I was a bad kid, but also, I don't know, she just liked a bunch of the cute kids. Maybe I was ugly or something. She liked all the kids that were like, like she would pick favorites and she hated on me. I don't know. I felt like my parents were divorced. I felt like a black sheep. I'm like, this lady hates me. But anyway, I asked a question because there were 4 answers. And she said, A is correct. It's A. And I raised my hand and I said this really happened. I said, excuse me, Miss Duffy. That was her name, Miss Duffy, Miss Duffhead. I was like, isn't C right also? Because I put C and she said it was wrong. I was like, isn't C right? And I explained myself and she said, oh yeah, C is right. And I was like, okay. And she's like, but A is more right. So you're wrong. And I was thinking to myself, what an idiot this lady is. Even though I was in 7th grade, I had the basic common sense to say, she's admitting that I'm right, but she's telling me that I'm wrong. And nobody in the class had a problem with it because they're taught to just follow the rules. I was right because I just found a different answer that was also correct. And she was like, yeah, that's right, but you're still wrong because that's not the one I chose. And from that point on, I'm like, screw this whole school thing. Like, this is bullshit, And it's true. A lot of it was good. There's a lot of good education, good books they told us to read. But now it's like, I see they do what you're told and you're a good boy. So now you got a bunch of followers in this world. So, school often rewards obedience, not intelligence. If you listen to any really critically thinking health person, whether it be a doctor or a dietitian, I don't know if dietitian's a word, but you know what I mean, someone that's very well versed on diets, what you learn in medical school and what you learn in diet school is all very cookie cutter. So if you think outside the box and start questioning narratives like, is this really good to eat this much bread? Is it really good to eat 7 servings of pasta on the food pyramid? Is it really good to drink this much milk? Is pasteurized milk really better than whole milk? Is almond milk good? Is this good? Is vegetables good? When you start asking these questions, the whole academic world is like, yo, shut the hell up. Like just stick to the government script or stick to the, the approved script from the, the organization that creates the standard of health. In one ways, I understand that things need to be regulated, right? You don't want fringe doctors doing crazy stuff. But at the end of the day, it also takes away a lot of, innovation and creativity and new discoveries. That's why when you look at some of the greatest scientists of the last 60 years, I could go through 3 of them, Nobel Prize winning that I can think of. They're all getting demonized. Watson and Crick discovered DNA. I would think that that's one of the biggest discovery of the past 100 years. As far as, scientific discoveries in the human body, discovering DNA, that's got to be top 2. Watson and Crick, one of them has lost all their stuff, had to sell their metals because one of their new discoveries or one of their new hypotheses was deemed racist. They said, oh, he's a racist, so let's take all his awards. He's a racist, so let's make him poor. The dude discovered DNA. There's no such thing as you could say it's wrong. If he says white people can't jump as high, white people are inferior. I'm not going to call him a racist. I have to prove that wrong and say, even if it's against my ethnicity, I got to be like, yo, I don't believe that's true, and I'm going to prove it's not true. Or you could believe what you want. It's not going to bother me. But because he said some unfavorable things about Black and Hispanic, although I think the Hispanic weren't even really that bad, he is now demonized, even though he discovered DNA. So there's one Nobel Prize winning scientist who doesn't get to speak that much anymore. Okay, let's look at Luc Montagnier. Luc Montagnier discovered HIV. Without that, there is no Anthony Fauci rising to this prominent, media position during the AIDS epidemic. Okay, the guy who discovered HIV and has a Nobel Prize for it, he disagrees with everything they were talking about. He early on said that COVID was a copy paste lab created virus. I reported on it. They censored all that. And now they say you can say, I'm not saying it's true. I don't do that type of work, but he said that. He's not a dummy. This isn't somebody who is like oblivious and works in chiropractor or something. Like, this guy discovered HIV and has a Nobel Prize for it. And he's not even allowed in the scientific discussion. What about Kerry Mullis, inventor of the PCR test that they're using? Without these three discoveries, DNA, PCR test, HIV, none of this stuff even exists that we're going through right now, as far as, all these bureaucratic government agencies that use all their products and innovations and ideas to, push forward these agendas. And these people are not even allowed in the conversation, because this whole idea is just shut up and do what you're told. But the greatest people in history, the greatest people in sports, the people that innovate the game, that become the greatest, that make humanity better, they don't think that way. And you can't think that way to be great and to be different. And that's why right now, regardless of what people think of Elon Musk, he is not a normal person, right? His Tesla, you can say what you want about Tesla products, but they work and they're different than other cars. And he pushed forward that type of technology. Do I believe that gas should be eliminated and we should go to electric? Absolutely not. That's a disaster. To be fair, even Elon Musk doesn't even think that, but he doesn't agree with the narrative. He doesn't agree with the truckers. He doesn't agree with the COVID narrative. He doesn't agree with almost anything that liberal media says. And, I find out of all these billionaires, Bill Gates, Warren Buffett, Elon Musk is the real innovator. He's the one that brought some new ideas to the table and pushed them forward. Warren Buffett did investing. Bill Gates, got smarter people to do stuff for him and owns Microsoft, or, let somebody else run it now and runs around the world doing GMO mosquitoes and vaccines, whatever. But it's like, I really feel like Elon is the thinker there, and he gets hated by the media. So everybody that actually thinks and changes the game, they're always constantly hated. And I'm not trying to wrap it up real quick. I'll answer a few questions, then I'll bounce. I'm not ragging on Jordan Peterson, because I really like him. I think he's super smart. I think he's a good net positive for the world. I'm glad to see him back. I'm glad to see him pushing back against the liberal media. And I'm no one to really speak, because, I have my own flaws, my own problems. Nobody's perfect. And that doesn't mean you should stop what you're doing. But I would say to Jordan Peterson and left-wing academics, you should listen sometimes. I know you guys read a lot, but everything is not a study, and every study is not 100% accurate. And you don't know everything just because you read a lot of academic papers. It's definitely good to arm yourself with information. But when I heard Peterson talk, I'm like, dude, he's just as cringy as these left-wing academics, always talking over people, never listening, never considering otherwise. And that's why he keeps getting played by Big Pharma over and over again. After a 2-year binge where Big Pharma almost took his life, he then went and got 2 injections and then cried about it a year later, because he thought that was going to get you back to normal. It's like, how many academic papers do you have to read in order to understand the scheme that happened in March 2020? I'm no academic, but I predicted all of this in 2019 and early 2020. Why? Because it's basic common sense. When you look who's pushing it, who are these companies? What are their track records? What are they settling out in court right now? What does the National Childhood Vaccine Injury Act say? Are they protected from liability? These sort of things a lot of people were like, okay, this seems a little off. But he just jumped headfirst into it. And then a year later, he's like, oh man, I feel bullied. I can't believe you did that to me. And it's like, bro, you got all the academic research, just like the left-wing academics. Use your common sense and be humble enough to, read a book like How to Lie with Statistics, and understand that although you should equip yourself with knowledge and equip yourself with data and equip yourself with academic research, be humble enough to listen sometimes. Listen to Joe Rogan, listen to me, listen to other people saying things that you need to hear, because, sometimes you're a little too headstrong and a little too prideful on the information and education that you have. And it really backfires on you and really anybody who listens, because it's like, there are reasons that this stuff happens, and it's not all to be found in a academic paper. There is corruption. There is, there are agencies and industries that are bought out and they do have an agenda. I would say most of the world has some sort of an agenda. And every study you have to understand is, flawed in essence. How many people were there? 1,000, 10,000, 100,000? Is it 100? Be very skeptical, use it, utilize it, but don't think that you have everything and you can't possibly be wrong. That type of energy works against left-wing media people because they're idiots. But when you're in a room with, people on your side that are also intelligent, it doesn't come off as good. And, you're going to end up, not advancing and kind of falling for the same things over and over again. Kelly said, thank you so much, Anomaly. What do you suggest I do at my son's school where they're forcing masks? I already emailed them and they just said sorry. I don't want to tell people what to do. At the end of the day, I don't want to be responsible for your kid, what happens. Like, people will message me saying, I do this, I do this. I don't, my family, I talk to my family. People, my brother, my sister, my mom, my dad, these are people I talk to about this stuff. These are people that I try to explain why I feel the way they feel. Anybody outside of my family, I don't want to make a decision for you. So it's up to you. To me, I think that forced masking is child abuse. I think the evidence is coming in that it is causing massive problems with kids. I think it's disgusting. As somebody that is somewhat of a germaphobe myself, I personally think it's disgusting. You look at some of these masks. I've had someone send me a picture. The mask is filled with sweat. It's black. And these teachers are idiots. They don't care that it's filled with dirt. They're just trying to not get in trouble. Throw it on your face. Wear it for 5 seconds before you sit down at a restaurant. It's a backwards policy. Me personally, it's easy for me to say what I would do, but I don't have a kid right now, so that's easy to say. But I would almost guarantee that I would not put up with that personally. But I don't want to make a decision and have it be a thing in your life. But everything comes at a cost. There's always sacrifices that make kids stronger. Sometimes you have to be a little tough to be strong, but I find it to be extremely abusive, and I personally think the reason that this doesn't end is because so many people are just going along with it. And, I want to say this real quick and I'll read another comment. Thank you, Richard, for the compliment. I was talking to my buddy, who I'm friends with at 15 days to slow the spread. I said to him, this is going to last for years. I said this also to my father, who I was with at the time. And everybody told me, this is going to end. This is going to end. This is going to end. It's been over 2 years. Restrictions in some ways are actually stricter than they were now. I predicted vaccine passports in March, and in 2019, they're here. I'm not trying to act like I'm a wizard or anything. I'm just saying I saw this all coming. So I would think that the people that knew that I saw this coming would be more interested in what I'm saying now, but it doesn't seem that way. Where, I talked to my buddy and he's just like, oh yeah, this is going to end soon. And I'm thinking to myself, that's exactly what you told me on 15 days to slow the spread. I told you it wasn't going to end soon. You said it was going to end 2 years. He's still following along and saying, oh, I'll just keep doing this to my kid and I'll keep doing this and I'll keep playing along because this is going to end. But really, the psychology is backwards. This only ends when you stop doing it. For instance, let's take 2 lives. We can do similar things in some ways. This person, I'm not going to get into specifics, but they're fine. They're not someone that they could opt out of it. I don't do any of this stuff. I've never had a PCR test. I've never had a COVID injection. I don't do any of this stuff, right? So I'm free, okay? I'm not being forced to do any of this because I never did it and I never will. And that's my line in the sand, and I'm not going to compromise myself to do it. I'm not wearing a mask to walk in a grocery store. I'm not wearing a mask to walk in a restaurant. It's not happening. I want to have a full conversation with everyone in the room. And that's why I live in a reality where this doesn't exist. I don't have to do it. It doesn't happen. And I'm more free than the people who are listening. The more you listen, the more they oppress you. The less the more you push back and stand up for, real health, full scale health, which clearly they're ignoring and saying is not part of their regimen, the more free you really are. While I don't want to push people in a direction or give people an idea, that's just personally how I feel myself. And the people that have been playing along are suffering the most. And the people that are playing along the least seem to be, on average, suffering the least as far as, freedom goes and states and counties where there's freedom. So I don't like to tell people what to do, but how long are people going to put up with this? I don't know. And the longer people put up with it, the longer it happens. Real quick, not to ramble, but the elites and the pharmacy company and the government, they know they've won this battle. Like, we could talk like, oh, there's a trucker protest. Oh, conservatives are getting stronger. We're getting into office. For sure. Definitely, like, there is a pushback happening. But at the end of the day, like, to me, the the reality is they're probably like, oh, look how weak these people are. Like 80% of people probably disagree with them, but 80% of people follow it anyway. You know how many people, the majority of people are not Rachel Maddow viewers who want everybody locked up forever. That's an extremely small amount of people that believe in all of this restrictions. Everybody I talk to, I know in my personal family, I know 5 people vaccinated. Everybody did it because they got told to do it. Nobody actually wanted to do it. Everybody I know, even the most pro vaccine, pro pharma, pro doctor person I know in my family, without me saying anything, literally came to me and said, I regret doing this because I was promised this and I don't think it looks like it's doing as well as I thought it was. This is somebody who gets the flu shot every year in my family. So everybody I know in my family did it because they got bullied, and 4 out of 5 of them feel somewhat duped about it. This is without me even telling them stuff, because a lot of them don't even watch my videos. So my thought is this: most people are over this crap, but the majority of people, everybody I know that's over it, they're all doing it. They're all following it anyway because they think if they just listen and stay in line, it's eventually going to disappear. I believe the opposite. I think if everybody keeps doing it, it pretty much, it's the new normal. Like it's going to take a lot of backlash and a lot of, peaceful, non-compliant backlash to end all this. Do you know how much money Big Pharma made? And when they make money, you don't understand. Like, this is why I disagreed with Operation Warp Speed. It gave $18 billion to Big Pharma. If you trace the money and you follow some conservatives like Thomas Massey, they're using that money for crazy stuff where it's like, I'm not going to say exactly because I don't want to be inaccurate, but now they have $18 billion to do certain things with. So it's like, and now they have, money to, so it's like a whole industrial complex, like the military industrial complex. Now you have the big pharma industrial complex, the mass testing industrial complex. I read a Reuters article the other day on COVID, and it was sponsored by Zoom. Zoom made out like an absolute bandit in 2020. So you have certain companies that their fiduciary duty to their stockholders is let's make as much money as possible. So do you think Zoom and Uber Eats and a lot of these companies like Pfizer, Moderna, you think that they're not incentivized to see how long that people can be afraid and, in submission to the point and vaccine passports? So this idea that this is just going to magically go away on its own, if you're lucky, but I personally believe, as much as I want this to go away, I don't believe America deserves for it to go away. If this goes away, you're lucky. You didn't earn this. Nobody earned this. This wasn't earned in America. This was given back. In Britain, they didn't earn it. It was given back. So you got to be very skeptical and cautious of when they're going to take it away, because there was no earning of this. They could do this for the rest of ever. Disneyland, forced mask, people are still going. Like, what are you doing? You know what I'm saying? You got, I want to go here. It's like, it's going to keep going, like, do you have the discipline to sit out of something for like a year? Oh, I want to go to Hawaii, so I'll get a PCR test. I don't agree with it, but I'll put a mask on. It's like, okay, I get it. I understand we all have to make little sacrifices, but I can't, I don't, why would this end when you're making a fortune for these companies and they're just like, yeah, people just keep listening. Like 60, 70, 80% of the country probably disagrees with what we're doing, but also 60, 70, 80, 90% of the country just goes along with it anyway. So, how many people are taking the Ian Smith stance or the Basilico stance or the me stance or the, even stronger Bryson Gray stance? Not that many people. Ilyav said, stop complaining, LOL. Stop typing in all caps. Use proper punctuation when you speak to me. Or don't. I don't care. Kelly said they are forced masking at my son's learning disability school. He has dyslexia and many speech impediments that are there. It's such BS. Once again, I don't want to tell you what to do, but I mean, if your son has dyslexia and learning disabilities and they're putting a mask on him, is it possible to find another alternative? For me, I can only speak for my family. My sister has kids and she's on the same page as me with a lot of things. She's found a private school to put them in for the masking. I'm going to give her a couple $1,000s to help pay for it because it's a family member of mine and I want her kids to not be forced masked. I'm a nice brother, I believe, but I would go out of my way for my family to make sure that they don't have to do that. I told my little brother that as well. I knew they were going to bully him to play music shows and he didn't listen to me. But in general, it's like, I want to give everybody the option in my family. I'm not going to let you do this, or I don't want that. So I don't know what your financial situation is. If you have a husband or a family with money or something, I can't tell. But I would think that if he already has learning disabilities and they're forced masking him, I would think that it would be wise to find a better option, but I don't want to tell you what to do. To me, I think of it as abuse. I wouldn't allow my worker to slap me. I wouldn't allow them to stab me. I wouldn't allow them to force a pill in my throat. So I consider that the same. I don't take pills. I don't take Advil. I'm not saying you can't. I'm not saying to listen to me, but I personally don't. I don't do that. I don't get headaches like ever. And if I get a headache, usually there's a reason. I don't just like numb the pain with an Advil. But anyway, it's like, to me, this is full on assault. They're assaulting me with a product that I don't want, with side effects that they know exist, that they're not taking any liability for. It's equivalent to me of stabbing or slapping me. So, and force masking me. I tell every restaurant I walk into, I'm not a slave. I'm not a prisoner. I'm not a serf. I'm not an animal. So stop trying to treat me like one. And, they don't think about it that way because they're not thinking, but they think when they run into me. So would I allow them to treat my kid like an animal and an abused prisoner, like captive? 0% chance that's happening. But I understand people don't have money. People are busy, and I get that. But I don't know. Like, to me, it's how bad do you think it is? If you think it's not a big deal or it's great for your kid, then I'm sure you'll do it. If you take the stance that I have, then I'm sure you wouldn't. But I'm not trying to tell people to think like me. Like, some people, I have people in my family that wear a mask and they're like, I don't care. I'll wear it all the time. And it's like, that's on you. I have literal family members. I don't sit and argue with my family members all day. Like, if you want to do that, that's on you. I'm not going to, I'll tell you what I think, but I know what I'm going to do with my body. And, I that's all I could really say. I don't want to tell people what to do and be responsible for the pros and the cons of that decision, because there's pros and cons of every decision. Facepalm said, what if the millions of people now that have myocarditis disease, but don't know it because they aren't pushing themselves like athletes, after 2 years, they want to talk about exercise? Facepalm, you never know. I mean, that's the thing. There are a lot of athletes that are getting myocarditis and heart problems. And, a lot of them are admitting that it is a vaccine injury. Some of them, the media is saying that it's COVID, like the one player from Canada who plays on Bayern Munich. They're saying he got myocarditis from COVID. Healthy 21-year-old, and they're blaming Omicron. But in general, I mean, this is the thing with and I told people this, I told everybody in my family this, so anybody can't tell me otherwise. I'm sure people are going to be fine. I believe a majority of people will be fine. We'll get through this. The human body is powerful, okay? Whether you take it or you're not, the human body is very powerful and able to adapt, etc. But here's the thing with any product ever. Like, there's been so many mistakes in U.S. history. Like, they used to think asbestos was good for you, and then they realized asbestos was bad. So what do you get out of it? I don't know. Maybe a commercial, right? Do you have a family member who died of asbestos? Talk to this lawyer and maybe we'll pay you. What about that other pill that they told you is healthy? Do you have a family member who took that pill? So there's all these sort of commercials. I've seen at least 50 of them talking about things that they once gave people for side effects that they weren't aware of. Here's the thing with the COVID shot that was a major red flag to me personally from the beginning. It wasn't just the fact that there are no long-term trials. Long-term trials don't exist under this stuff. They could gaslight you and lie to you all you want. They have never injected hundreds of millions of people with this much synthetic mRNA and had a 5-10 year trial. There's hundreds of millions of people who are the trial right now. So I think everybody will be fine. And whether you got it or not, I don't think anybody should be fearful. You need to be mentally strong and physically strong. But this idea that they know what's going to happen in 10 years, they have no clue. And here's another thing, is that the vaccine manufacturers protected themselves from liability from side effects or injuries or deaths. So they don't have liability for anybody who took their product under the EUA or under the pandemic. So you know what I'm saying? Like, you watch all these commercials where it's like, did you do this? There are going to be no commercials. Pfizer, Moderna, they're cleared. You know what I'm saying? They signed the deal. They have no liability. There's maybe a government program that you can get a little money out of if something happens. But for the most part, nobody gives a shit about you. And they're going to actively try to cover it up on Google, big tech, and Twitter like they already are. So they're all working hand in hand. They know about this stuff. VAERS, VAERS, I'm not saying it's perfect. I'm not saying it's the greatest thing in the world, but it's the best thing we have. It was created by the government. If you listen to them talk about VAERS, Vaccine Adverse Event Reporting System, you would think it was created by Alex Jones, posted on Infowars.com. It was created by the government, and the reason they created VAERS was because the National Childhood Vaccine Injury Act, signed by Reagan, took away liability from vaccine manufacturers. They used to have liability for their vaccines for side effects and injuries and death. They used to have liability, but they were getting sued too much and it was becoming unprofitable. So they struck a deal after lobbying the government. This is all confirmed. They struck a deal saying now we have no liability. So once they did that, at that time, the government had some sort of morality. So they said, we can't just give, big pharma complete liability shield. We need to do something to track side effects and injuries and deaths from vaccines. That's when they created VAERS. VAERS is not an Alex Jones conspiracy theory. It's a government created program to track vaccine side effects and injuries. And they're sweeping it completely under the rug as if it's some sort of far right, nonsensical thing. It's their freaking program that they created to track things after they took liability away from big pharma. So with all of these things said, a product they have no liability for, a vaccine reporting system that they're sweeping under the rug, you can't talk as if it even exists. And then people are talking about long-term side effects. Who knows if anyone will ever know? Who knows if they'll ever tell the truth about it? They don't have to. They don't have to give you anything. They don't have to give you a settlement commercial on television. They've protected themselves in every way possible, and they don't have to tell you anything or do anything for you. And this is what I told my family. This is what I told my friends. This is what I told the world 100 times. So my conscience is clear. I've told everybody the information I had. I told everybody this stuff. And multiple people in my family didn't listen to me. And I'm sure they'll be fine. I'm not trying to scare anybody, but it's like, this is what it is. So as far as your comment of what you said, who knows? I have no idea. And this goes for everything. There's food I've been eating. Just to be fair, it's not like I'm this perfect person. I've been using microwaves. I've been using plastic. I've been using the shitty Teflon pans that they give you. So there's a lot of situations in this world where a lot of people are using products or certain things that they're not really reporting the full, how good is this? How bad is this? Could this do something to this? Like, there's a lot of reports of microplastics and everything that's plastic. There's reports of certain pans not being ideal. A lot of people have always speculated that aluminum was not great in deodorants, although there's, conflicting reports. So this is not just exclusive to COVID vaccines or any vaccines. This is the whole world we live in, where it's like, this is why I think whether you got the vaccine or not, you should have a positive mindset and just figure out how to be healthy, because the body is an amazing thing. When they tried to cover up natural immunity and act like it didn't exist, and then the reports came out that it was strong, yeah, the body is amazing. The body gets attacked. Like, I hurt my foot and part of it still semi doesn't work, but like it grew back. My thumb's broken. It's a little bit, misshapen, unfortunately, but my thumb works again. So like the body has this amazing ability to self heal. Is it perfect? Of course not. We don't live forever, but whether you got the mRNA shot or not, just try to be confident in yourself. Don't let the other side convince you to be unhealthy. Like a lot of people who didn't get the shot are trying to scare people who got the shot. And a lot of people who got the shot are trying to scare people who didn't get the shot. Don't let that into your reality, whether you got it or not. Believe in your own heart that, your body will take care of you with your decision. And whenever you move forward, that's all you really got. So, understand that there have been crazy stuff that have happened to crazy people and people have healed from it. So I've gotten vaccines in the past that now that I've gotten them, in hindsight, I would never get them again, including a recent history. Do I sit around all day and think to myself, oh my God, I'm screwed because I got something I wouldn't get now? No, I said my body took care of it. You know what I'm saying? I do things to heal myself. My body naturally heals itself, and I got to move forward. I'm already an injured man. My foot is semi-injured. My hand is semi-injured, but I still want to play sports and I still want to be athletic. So, you got to power through it either way. It's just good to know how this stuff works because it's being extremely lied about in the media because they have massive, I guess, bias. Someone said aspartame. I've never heard of what that does, but I have gum. I bought gum at Whole Foods that it says aspartame free. This is how I live my life. I try to do as healthy as I possibly can. Organic coffee, cacao, no degenerate, Reese's anymore. Aspartame free gum, a soap that is not, normal soap. This is just how I live my life. I'm not telling people what to do, but the more I learn about stuff, people I feel like I stay clean. Sometimes people are like, oh, your skin looks good today. I don't really do that much. I go in the sun and this is not a routine, or because I'm sure there's women with way nicer skin than mine and men with that, but you get what I'm saying. It's like this is how I don't live this world where big pharma holds me for ransom and tells me to inject things in my body. Like they got to calm down. Have I looked into the US code? No, I haven't, Nate. I'm gonna be honest with you, brother. I do deep dives on certain things, but looking at like policy stresses me out sometimes. And I'm not saying I don't do it, but like these politicians just write things all the time and they're just passing them all the time. And it's stressful reading like these 50-page bills about all this bull crap. And it's like, I want to tell the American people this and the people around the world. And I want to try to use a business example because I'm thinking big. Like I hear you, Nate. It's probably important, but I hope people capture the big point of this and we can actually do something about it. So, I am a hip hop artist. I'm a news analyst, a content creator, whatever the hell you want to call me. Okay. I have people sometimes that offer me business deals. This has happened since I was 18 years old with music, management, people, most of which I hadn't signed, maybe one or two temporary management deals I signed for like a year when I was like 19, 20, never really amounted to anything. I'd never signed with a record label. You get my point though. Okay. So when I didn't need a lawyer, and it's good to get a lawyer to look at it, but I could see through some of the bullshit anyway. Like, what are you trying to do versus what are you saying? What a politician says does not matter. What a businessman says does not matter. If I sign a deal with you, what I say doesn't matter. What is in the contract? What is in the deal? So sometimes I get these 10-page deals, 6-page deals, and it's this, says this record label wants this, that. And I'm like, why the hell is all this in here? It's too much. That's politics. That's the Apple terms and condition too. But politics is like, they shouldn't be passing any of these bills. Like the Constitution's pretty damn good. Like all this other bullshit, 50,000 page omnibus bill, they're scamming everyone all the time. And we're never going to read this stuff that you want me to read. And nobody's ever going to do anything about it because we're always fighting. The left's fighting the right's fighting the left. Trump passes the bill, Biden passes the bill. Every now and then Republicans block a big shitty bill and then they pass a smaller big shitty bill that's still shitty. Sometimes Trump's in office and the omnibus bill is shitty, but it's not as shitty. And then the Democrats are in office and the omnibus bill is really shitty. But the only thing that's a lie is that the Democrats are helping you. They're making it worse. The Republicans are helping you a little bit, but not really. They're still doling out money to big pharma, doling out money to all these people. So I hear what you're saying. I think it's necessary to read stuff, but they pass bills like this every day, every week, every month, and nobody cares and nobody reads it. People like Bill Cooper seem like a lunatic trying to warn people this 30 years ago. Read it. Check this out. And everyone's like, shut up, Bill. It's too much. And in some cases, it is too much. But if we can convince enough people that this is politics, then we could actually accomplish something. But, the left has this insatiable hate for Republicans. A lot of people on the right have this insatiable thirst for Donald Trump and this insatiable, hate for rhinos and liberals. And, it's like a lot of people have so much emotion for who they love and who they hate. Nobody can come together and agree that they're getting scammed on this thing. Everybody, like taxes and these massive bills. But, I would say the left is worse because their programming is so severe that their whole ideology is backwards. So your chances of at this point of deprogramming like a Republican who's biased is way better than a Democrat because their whole thing is messed up. Like Tulsi Gabbard tells the truth and they freak out at her because their whole life is a lie. So it's like, Tulsi Gabbard is more loved among Republicans, even though she's still a classical liberal. The right wing seems to be leading the world right now in the pushback against this stuff. And it's not a coincidence. I tweeted something the other day. I didn't read my messages, but my one buddy who's like progressive liberal was going to come try to debate me. And I'm like, bro, I don't feel like talking about this right now. But in general, I was talking about the Communist Manifesto. A lot of people on the left, they're not going to admit it, but a lot of progressives and stuff, they were conned into thinking that this is, the Democrats are bad and the Republicans are bad and the Communist Manifesto is going to save us. Read the book, and I'll debate this with people when I can, but in general, it's like if you read the Communist Manifesto, okay, it literally says this in here: total control of transportation. Karl Marx wanted the government to have a total control of transportation, total control of banking, total control of property, no private property, no space between you and this government, no private property, total control of communications and means of speaking. So people on the left that are progressives like Russell Brand types, I'm not blaming Russell Brand, but Russell Brand types that are like, I'm progressive, I'm still into the Bernie stuff, but I'm against mandates. I want to challenge people because I'm glad that you're here and I'm glad that you see that it's a lie. But there's a reason that most right-wing people are against mandates. There's a reason that these movements are being, maybe 80, 90% right-wing and 10% progressive liberal. There's a reason that conservatives understand this more. And it's this simple ideology, is that your ideology is being led by a big government, big corporatist merger called communism. And communism is never for the people. It ends bad every time because it's a failed system. It's a system that wants the government to take everything. And libertarians and conservatives and Republicans know that the government needs to chill out. So you see, Republicans are now championing free speech. Republicans are championing the Second Amendment. Not to say that there aren't progressives like Jimmy Dore doing it, but it's like an 80-20 or a 90-10 split, because Republicans and libertarians under big government bad, private property good. And communism says private property bad, big government good. Big government will be good, take away everything and disperse it all. No, they won't. That's totally wrong. So progressives need to wake up to this. It's like, you've been duped. There's a reason that now, if you're one of these progressive liberals that's like on the Russell Brand side, there's a reason that 80%, 90% of the people next to you are right-wingers, because right-wingers understand this. And left-wing is lie after lie after lie, racial lies, class warfare lies. It's all leading you to this path of no freedom. And if the government controls transportation, communication, banking, and media, you're done. It's not going to work ever. You have one singular, source that controls everything. All the Bitcoin people are more libertarian, even though there's liberals there. Why does Bitcoin work? Because it's not centralized, or that's what the goal is. It's not centralized. So nobody can control it in a sense. You can't print more. It's not fiat. So that's a finite number with this algorithm. It doesn't work if it's communist. Oh, the government controls everything. It's the opposite of, centralization versus non-centralization. And I'll say this because, there is something that I could agree with progressives on. At a certain point, big government becomes big corporate, right? They just kind of merge. So in communism, they merge completely and there's no opt out. That's why Elon Musk can talk shit. Donald Trump can talk shit. If you go to China and Jack Ma tries to talk shit like Elon Musk or Donald Trump, Jack Ma goes missing, and then all of a sudden, he's there again and he agrees with the government. Like, you can't, in a communist world, the government doesn't allow you to disagree. Although America's flawed, we're not fully communist yet, because you have billionaires that are disagreeing with the narrative and you're allowed to push back with the government. That's what they want. So communism's a lie. But also, corporatism is also a lie, like crony capitalism, where it's like, well, these big corporations can do whatever they want. Well, they shouldn't be able to. There should be some sort of moral code that everybody has to follow in this society. So I get why they don't like right-wingers. But, if you look at all these massive corporations, what agenda are they pushing? Is Nike pushing, Confederate flags? Is Nike pushing like MAGA hats? And I'm not saying that they're the same, because they're not, but you get what I'm saying. Like, is Nike, the Republican, dude, they're all pushing left-wing narrative. They're all pushing BLM. They're all pushing Marxism. They're all pushing this racial narrative. They're all pushing big government. They're all pushing big pharma. Every corporation is pushing the narrative of the left. Why? Because at the end of the day, the big corporate and the big government, they just merge and they control everything. It's so there are right-wing people who are misled, and some corporations need to be reined in, but not in the progressive ideology yet. Like, that's any good billionaire right now that's pushing against it is like pushing against higher taxes, pushing against people like Elon, where he's like, yo, truckers rule, you guys are crazy, we're losing freedom. Like, that's the move, even though he's more left-leaning in some ways. But I just want to explain that real quick, because I think a lot of people are still having trouble with, like, man, it's like there's a reason most of the people pushing back now are libertarian and right wing. And this is also, I don't want to get too deep with it, but this is why the media is so biased as well. This is, I guess you could technically call it a theory, right? Because nothing is for sure. But if you look at who the media is demonizing now, you have liberal media pushing all of this left-wing agenda, they're so pro-black, but not really. They won't even let black people into sports stadiums. So they're like anti-black, but they're pretending to be pro-black, and they're pretending to say white people. It's like, if you look voting pattern wise, who is standing up against this tyranny as far as big government? Well, you have most conservatives, et cetera. There's still a massive white population that votes right wing for smaller government. And even though a lot of black people in America are anti-big pharma and anti-mandates, which is great, statistically, they're still voting for the Democratic Party and putting these people in power so they can oppress them and everybody else. So they're not doing this naturally, like, oh, they love black people so much. That's a nice thing. You should love people, but they're doing it because they've identified the group of people that doesn't vote for them. And if they can switch the demographics and tilt the scales in a way that statistically people vote them into power, you're not going to have freedom in this country. It doesn't matter if you have idealistic views of Bernie Sanders. It doesn't matter if you follow Kyrie Irving on Instagram and you're anti-big pharma, but at the same time you vote for Democrats because Charlemagne the God tricked you or something. Like, none of this matters once they get into power, and they'll try to say that this is some sort of terrible conspiracy theory. It's really not. It's just the reality. I have videos of them bragging about doing this type of stuff. This hate is not organic. Like, this race is really bad and they're to blame for all this stuff. They know who doesn't support them. That's why when you're a trucker, they don't know what your politics are. You're a fascist. It's fascist. It's right wing. It's racism. It's white supremacy. They use these words over and over because they're successful triggers for people on the left wing to be like, oh, that's bad. I don't want to go over there. You don't even the trucker movement has nothing to do with white supremacists. It's a movement for working people to get freedom from the government. But the governments of Canada and the governments of America have identified who pushes back against their elitist tyranny. It's right wingers. This is just demographic statistically. It's right wingers. It's libertarians. It's conservatives. It's white people. It's men. It's Christians. These are demographics racially, religiously, politically that don't agree with big government. And if you listen to somebody like, I forget the former guy from was it Brennan or something? I forget his name, but he's like terrorists, libertarians, conservatives. He's trying to group conservatives, libertarians into terrorists, because these are people that believe in smaller government, and they are government. So they're trying to weaponize people against people who want a little space between them and the government. So all of this racial activism, it's all fake. You have Jen Psaki on television admitting that they're not even thinking about health in their policy. And listen, we could talk about corrupt cops. We could talk about Colin Kaepernick. We could talk about BLM, and we could talk about Republicans. But let's talk about healthy food. Let's talk about dieting. Let's talk about exercise and access to exercise. Let's talk about the food that they put in inner cities. Let's talk about the opioid and fentanyl crisis that's killing hundreds of thousands of people. These are killing more people than cops. These are killing more people than anybody. Conservatives are not, and white people are not doing this. This is big pharma, big government, destroying your neighborhoods, destroying everybody. White neighborhoods, black neighborhoods. People are dying of fentanyl. People are dying of opioids. People are getting morbidly obese with these crappy foods that they're feeding everybody. So this is killing hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people over the course of the decade. But there's no conversation around it because they've weaponized black activism to hate people who talk about this stuff. Oh, that's far right wing, neo-Nazi gym bros. It's like, if you follow any gym bro, regardless of what ethnic group they are, gym bros work out. Gym bros talk about healthy diets. Gym bros are anti-tyranny. Gym bros are not scared of a freaking seasonal virus or bi-seasonal virus. That's all, everything. You get what I'm saying? They use these words to cover up the truth everywhere around. Oh, that's racist. That's white supremacy. That's conspiracy theory. That's far right. That's those crazy Republicans like Sean Hannity. And people have been programmed to be like, oh man, they're the worst. That's terrible. And it's like, dude, this new wave of people trying to get freedom, it's all about freedom for everyone. But they have targeted exactly who statistically doesn't agree with them. And that's what they're doing, weaponizing media, weaponizing the government against people that don't agree with them. Are you a parent who wants your kid to be left alone? Well, now they're weaponizing the government against you because you're a parent who cares about their kid. In California, they're writing op-eds saying why the government should take your children. You get what I'm saying? That's why Kanye's number one enemy, because he's a black, wealthy man who understands what's going on with the liberal media. Yes, he's arrogant. Yes, he's into himself. But also, that's a sign of how to make it. You need to be confident. If you believe you could do it, that's the first step to doing it. But, it's like, oh, man, he's the worst. No, he's the only person in rap music pushing back hard against this bullshit narrative. Joe Rogan. These are not the worst people. These are the best people in the culture. The people that are trying to educate people that big pharma and big government should not have authoritarian power over your thoughts and your actions. That's what's going on here. So they have all these sorts of tricks and traps. And like I always say, I'm writing my book about it. It's been quite the hassle to edit and stuff, but I hope to get it out next month. That's my goal. Someone said Kanye is the Antichrist. I don't think he's that powerful. I don't think he's the Antichrist. I just think he's a, successful billionaire Christian who is very flawed and, has his moments. But if you think he's the Antichrist, that's on you. I'm not going to argue. People think Trump's the Antichrist. He's the Antichrist. Some people think the Pope's the Antichrist. Everybody has their theory. Oh, you said an Antichrist. I mean, okay, I got you. I thought you said the Antichrist, but whatever. I mean, I'm not here to argue about that. It's not really provable. A group, not an individual. Got you. Got you. Do I trust my eyes or my ears? Um, I mean, in some way, sure. I guess your ears, if you hear it, it's word of mouth or rumors. So ears, I'm skeptical of. My eyes, I trust a lot that I see, but I don't know. I'm very. I would say I'm not one of these like academics. No offense. That's like, oh, I know everything all the time. It's like I know a lot. I know enough to see bullshit. I can question, and I'm always critically thinking, but I'm pretty open. I think what I see, it depends if I read it or see it in person. If I see it in person, I pretty much saw it. If I read it, I'm reading the opinion of someone else. If I'm hearing it, I'm listening to the opinion of someone else. So, or the work of someone else. So I think I'm pretty thoughtful. I don't go like too knee deep into anything. But when it comes to like, is water healthy for humans? Like that seems pretty clear. Is it better to be in shape or 600 pounds when dealing with like any illness? It's better to be in shape. I try to stick to like pretty much universal truths like that. But if you could show compelling evidence that it's better to be 800 pounds, then that's fine. But I think that's pretty obviously not true when it comes to like your organs and stuff. So, things like that, I try to be pretty, on, and it's clear that the government's ignoring all that stuff, which is insane. But yeah, I'm not too headstrong, I guess, with certain things. I don't know. You guys watch me, so I don't know. Maybe I am. Someone said, are all thoughts lies? I'm not going to say all thoughts are lies, but I think I was listening to last night because one book I was trying to run it back. One book that was really beneficial to my mindset early on was Eckhart Tolle's Power of Now and Tao Te Ching's Lao Tzu's Tao Te Ching. These are like mindset books. It's 7 hours, so I didn't get through it. But like, I think there's a lot of truths in those books, like the Eckhart Tolle book. And one thing that they touch on, which is so important nowadays, especially with the internet, especially with social media, is you don't want to get trapped in your thoughts. Like you guys watch my videos. I think a lot. I research a lot. If you watch my videos, in order to know this much stuff, I have to think a lot, and I got 6 articles up right now. All the Neil Young stuff, I have them right on my screen to point to make sure I don't mess up. So it's like yes, I don't want to be an idiot. Yes, I want to think a lot. Yes, I want to do good research. But one of the hardest things for me to do and everyone else to do is to turn your brain off. Not completely, but it's like having tabs open. If I walk around all the time with 100 tabs open in my head, I'm going to drive myself crazy. So I don't know if I would say all thoughts are lies, but overthinking will hurt you too much. And the best moments are lived in the present moment. And you want to appreciate where you are, find time to put your phone down and really focus on the present moment. But it's tough because even when I'm walking on the beach, I'm thinking of this, I'm thinking of this, I'm in the future, I'm in the past, I'm thinking of the video I'm going to do. That's so hard. So a lot of people think that you need to think more. You need to think more. And in some cases, yeah, people aren't thinking. You do need to think and not be an idiot. But sometimes one of the best things you could do is think less, right? Do you know how to turn off 1,000 tabs and just have one tab open in the present moment? I think that is the key to happiness and life. Someone said Alan Watts. Yeah. Alan Watts talked about this. He was very good, I think, at like Eastern philosophy, a lot of old Eastern philosophy, like the Tao Te Ching. This is crucial in their studies and stuff. And I think that's so true. So regardless of who you are, etc., if you can enjoy yourself, live in the present moment, and kind of tap out of overthinking about certain things, that has massive benefit at many times in life. Did I see the blue and black dress or gold and white? Can you trust your eyes? Said Lori. That's a good question. Yeah, I know. It's definitely like a trippy question to ask yourself as far as like what you see. You know, some people see different things, optical illusions, etc. It's a trippy path to go down. I would say I'm pretty open though. I'm not too definitely, I mean, I defend myself and I can put on a show, but I would say, you know, I like to listen. Even with Jordan, let me give him a compliment because I was saying what I disagreed with. Like, although I found that he over talked over Joe a lot and talked in circles, you know, Jordan had a few really great moments of that podcast where he had really great analogies and really great ideas and really great pushback against, you know, some sacred cows and stuff. So I think like that's when I listen to stuff. I try to always pick up the best and leave things I don't like. And I think that's why, like, sometimes people like in my chats, they'll be like, I don't like Candace Owens. I don't like Elon Musk. I don't like Joe Rogan. And it's like, you don't have to like anybody. You don't have to like me. But like, there's so much value there that, you know, if you could get it somewhere else, it is what it is. But I find that people that hate too much, they don't learn enough because they're too busy hating all the time. Like, I don't hate Jordan Peterson. I love Jordan Peterson. It's just, you know, I think that I don't want him to, you know, and I'm not trying to act like I'm so, but like, I don't want him to make another mistake and fall for big pharma. And that's why I think that he does it. Vice versa, I'm sure he could look at my life and tell me to clean my room. And I'd be like, yo, you're right. I should clean my room. You know, what am I doing? But, you know, I don't like to hate too hard. Like I like to listen. I like to find value and I like to find good things in places that are not always good. Like if AOC says something good, I want to highlight that, not because I like AOC, but I want to show that, you know, our realities can collide sometimes. So I think the way you learn a lot is by listening, observing, and not hating. You don't want to hate anybody, especially people that have a lot of value. If you hate them, it shuts off. It's like saying the word racist. It's like, you're a racist. Like, what is that? You could call me a racist. I could call you a racist. I could call, you know, a Farrakhan follower a racist. He could call me a racist. That conversation ends. But when I talked to Riza Islam, we didn't use that word. I mean, I think he used it once or twice and we had a convo, but in general, it's like, you know, these things can be like you, and the conversation's over. It's the same thing as like hating someone. You just put up a wall and it's over. So it's like, you know, it's definitely good to be able to absorb truth that you didn't already know and be humble enough to hear it. Someone said, hurry up and finish this live. I want to watch the Trump rally. Well, you could watch it, my brother. You know, I appreciate that that you're watching me over that. So thank you. I consider that a compliment, but feel free to watch it. You could always turn me off. I'm wrapping up in a couple minutes anyway. I want to just say this real quick. I have free email list, stayintouchwithme.com, Telegram, t.me/dreamrare chat. It's the best way to get a notification in case like social media doesn't send it out. And I want to let y'all know too, I'm trying to figure out different ways to do stuff this year. I don't want to break like if it's not broken, don't fix it. But I feel like I could up certain things and I look back, it's always gotten better. So I am figuring out ways to do that. And I'm going to revamp my Patreon page. Right now I have patreon.com/raretalk. I don't really offer that much except for answering messages, which is also valuable. But I'm thinking about, I'm going to start a podcast because I like to listen to podcasts and stuff. And even though I pretty much do that, I'm just going to really start it, stick with it, do good interviews. I'm going to offer like a free podcast, I think, behind Patreon, a secret one. I'm going to answer questions, people that go on Patreon, and I'm going to ask questions and then answer them and do a live. I'm going to figure out interesting ways to do that because with social media, the way it's going, it's great. I'm very happy, but I'm also doing two things real quick. I'm employing one of my best friends, and now I'm going to have to pay an employee, which is going to, you know, I got to do better. But then also, you know, I'm still heavily reliant on big tech, although I have gained a lot of platforms elsewhere. I would love to run up my Patreon, even though they're kind of big tech too, but you know, have a good subscription service where people feel like they got it, $5 a month, 10 max or something super simple. Provide more value, provide more content, but then have like a more leverage where if anything happens that I don't really care. Someone that really inspired me, and I'm not someone that needs this much money because I feel like it's a lot, but Tim Dillon, I don't know if you guys know Tim Dillon. He's a comedian. He's on Joe Rogan a lot. He's really funny. I like Tim Dillon a lot. He makes $200,000 a month on Patreon with a $5 and a $10 subscription. Can you believe that? $200,000 a month. $5 subscription, $10 subscription. So anybody could opt out whenever they want. It's not, they're not paying that much. To me, that blew my mind because he's so funny. He deserves it. But to be honest, I'm not comparing because I think he's way funnier than me. I work way harder than him, and I don't need that much money, but I'm like, holy crap. He does like one podcast a week or something. Like, he doesn't even do that much work, but he's caking off Patreon, where I'm like, I don't need that much. But being that if Facebook does something or YouTube does something, that impacts my salary so much where it's like, man, they could really, throw me off. And if I have an employee, now I have to think about not just my life, but someone else's life. And if I do that, it's like, well, now I have this per month and I don't really care what they do, and I could promote other platforms more. So it would give me more power to, just throw up the middle finger more metaphorically and be like, well, I don't really care. I do anyway now because I'm not going to let them stop me. But I was like, damn, if I could just make 10% of what he made, that would be fine. But it's crazy. It's like when you see certain people, you're like, the Island Boys or something, they're doing cameos for a couple great, they're making like 100 figures on Cameo. You're like, it's crazy. Someone said you are not that funny, Anomaly, but honesty is your strength and wisdom. Well, I didn't say I was not funny, but it's funny that you said I'm not funny. I think I'm moderately funny. Like, I think I could be a comedian. I just think Tim Dillon's one of the funniest people. He makes me like cry laughing. But now you're hurting my feelings. I thought I was like moderately funny to kind of funny, but you're like, no, you're right, Anomaly. You effing suck, dog. You're good at the news thing. No, I'm just kidding. I go what you're saying. It doesn't bother me. I thought it was funny though. Like, yeah, dude, Anomaly, you suck, dog. I'm glad you know that. I'm just kidding. No, he said I'm not as funny as Tim Dillon. I agree. To me, he's super funny. Like, when he makes me laugh really hard. Let me see. Rhonda said, I think you're funny. Thank you, Rhonda. I'm just playing. I don't care what people think. I get what you're saying, though. Tyler said, sometimes you got to be stern with the tough love, need to take the initiative in their own areas and stop complying to these ridiculous devils promoting like the world is literally okay being turned into cattle. Thank you, Tyler, for the super chat. And I hear you, man. It's like, I say this all the time because I'm like, the way they're treating people, they're bullying people. The bullying is crazy. I hate bullies. I'm not a mean person, but I'm watching them bully children, bully elders. And I'm like, you guys got to back up. That's the energy I have. Thank you, Tyler Wilson. Thank you, Don. Thank you, Shelly. Thank you, Bobby. So thank you for being honest and ethical. I try my best. Thank you, Robert. Thank you, Jody. Thank you, Brenda. Thank you, Don. Thank you, Audrey. Thank you, Greben. Everybody with the stars. Appreciate y'all. Someone said, no, dude, you could be a comedian. I think I'm pretty funny. I think I could do a set, but it's a whole new set of skills I would have to really think about. I would have to think it through, but I definitely think I could pull off like a comedy routine. You got to remember your jokes, pull it off, make it authentic. It's tough work. I don't need more things to do right now, but luckily I just have a platform I can mess around on here and make jokes. That's good for now. Someone said the Island Boys did net fame harder than Bieber. Listen, they had a come up. They have, they had an interesting look. They did their thing, and they're making their money off it. It's definitely interesting. The Island Boys. It was a nice little catchy tune. I like your new song with Damn, I forgot his name, Bryson Gray. Check out his albums out now too. Judy said you have me rolling on the floor sometimes. I appreciate it. I've tried to be funnier these last 2 years because before I leave, I got to go soon. But when I first started, like I was rapping and then I started doing news. I didn't know exactly what I was doing. So I was always like, just like very stiff. But it worked. I was just getting the information out there. And I've loosened up over time because I'm more used to talking to a camera. And then I'm like, all right, I got to be funnier because in my opinion, maybe not true, but I'm funny in real life. I think I'm hilarious. I think I'm funnier in real life. And for a while, I'm like, well, I'm doing the news. I got to be serious. And that recently things have gotten so stupid. I'm like, I should just keep being funnier because it's funny. Making people laugh is fun. It makes it not so like angry. Like a lot of comedians have a lot of issues. And the reason they're so funny is to cope with how crazy everything is. And it's like, it's a beautiful thing because the world is crazy. Everybody's going through something. So if you go to a comedy show, you just laugh your ass off and it's hilarious. So I started being funnier, I think, recently because I was like, man, we gotta break up this. I can't just talk about the same thing every day and not crack at least a few jokes. Someone said, "And you're funny looking, ha ha." Well, let's calm down now, okay? Let's not get our ducks all in a row, okay, soldier? It's okay. I don't care. Thank you, Ann. Thank you, Dana. All right, someone said, I think you have 500,000 followers now. I think you would have 500,000 followers. Well, I'm not trying to toot my own horn, but on YouTube, I don't. I think I have like 275, but on Facebook, I have 1.6 million. That's why my videos are always backwards on YouTube now because I turn it the right way for Facebook because there's more people there. So I have 1.5 million on Facebook or 1.6, like 400,000 on Instagram. I have a couple million total. I'm not trying to toot my own horn, but we got millions of followers, so it's all good. But I don't really ever stop and celebrate that. Like we hit 1 billion minutes watched on Facebook. I think that's a pretty big milestone, 1 billion minutes. I might post about it or something, but I don't really follow my followers anymore as far as like, oh my God, I hit 1.5. Everybody cheer for me. I'm just like work, focus, make content, pop out videos. So it's been a blessing, no question. So it's all good. Appreciate y'all. Have a beautiful week. I'll be back with more videos and I'll let y'all know over the next few months. I might change up the way I do my videos. I don't know. I'm still going to do live streams, but I want to do more content, better content, and like figure out ways to adapt because I don't like to change. But, Instagram, like people are watching reels. So now I'm getting like 400,000 views a day on Instagram from people watching these minute clips. And it's easier to edit. So I actually like it because it's like, how do I fit what I'm trying to say into a minute? It's a different craft. So, I'm always trying to evolve. I don't want to change and fail you, but you can't just do the same thing forever, like driving a Thunderbird and someone's got a 2021 Expedition. So that's what it is. All right, I got to go. My friends here, have a beautiful day. I'll be back soon. And hopefully you enjoyed that live stream.